Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lion's Den. I'm your host, Matt, as usual, and this week has been interesting, sort of. Some things have happened, and I'd like to go over something from last week as well. So let's kick it off with a bit of fun times that we've all experienced, I'm sure. So, group work is awful, generally. As you know, probably, if you've ever had to do it at school or at university or even in the workplace, it's just not a fun experience. I was tasked for one of my modules with designing an off-grid house. And there was four of us in our group, and the purpose of this house was that we had to determine all of the requirements of the house and then find solutions for them. So we needed to cover things like the heating, we needed to cover the water, we needed to cover the energy generation, how we're going to store the power, and all of that stuff. So we had four people, we kind of set it up in four things to research, divvied it up, everything was going great. We were meeting semi-regularly, maybe every couple of days, talking about what we'd figured out, what we'd seen, and asking questions, saying like, do you think this is a good idea, do you think that's a good idea? All going smoothly. Monday rolls around, we meet again, and we're like, okay, we've got some slides together now, let's all put them together. Three of us going on it, we've got 80% of our pieces ready to go. All we need to do is kind of finish things off, do some audio recording, because it's an online presentation and it's all pre-done. The fourth dude kind of dragging his heels a bit. We're like, okay, don't worry about it, you say you've got most of the information, you just need to get it all sorted. Cool, go for it. The next day rolls around, one day before the deadline. Everyone's now got their slides in, everyone's starting to do their audio recording. This dude still hasn't got his slides in? Oh lord, what is he doing? Just push through it. What we can do is we can meet on the day of the deadline, it's due at 3 PM, we'll just kind of meet and get stuff going all throughout the day. Wednesday rolls around, day of the deadline. This dude only just uploads his slides, they're half complete, he's asking questions about how to change other parts of the presentation when the rest of us have finished. Oh, what a nightmare. It was more and more stress as we got closer to the deadline because he kept throwing more and more issues at us that needed resolving, and it was like, oh, why? Why are you like this? Why can't people be organised and on it? But yeah, everyone's had that stress, but we managed to pull it off, and I waited to talk about this because I actually got the grade back for that presentation, and it's a joint grade, so it was based on what we all did. We did really well, so whew, can worry about that one no more. So something that me and my family have been doing every Saturday for the longest time is we watch films or we play games. The sort of playing games has gone out the window a bit because some people can't be adults. You know, that one person. So instead it's mostly been films. And we've been going through Disney films recently. We've got Disney Plus, which is good if you are into Disney content, I must say. It's worth it, I think, if you are a Disney person. But otherwise, maybe just stick to Netflix and stuff like that. But we've been going through the ages. We're starting from like the beginning of Disney animation, you know, the classics, the Snow White and whatever else is down in the old land, Cinderella, things like that. And the films are so weird. They're shorter than I expected. And the plots are just kind of bizarre. A lot of them, obviously, as well, are products of their time, and some of them do come with warnings, some of them don't, and we think they should all come with warnings that, like, they're showing off outdated views of women and other people, and it's not culturally appropriate in certain circumstances, but hey ho. There's no time for connection, I find. The whole premise of a lot of the films is it's a girl meets boy, things happen, they become a couple, happily ever after, you know. But a lot of the time, there's no build up for them to develop a relationship and actually become like a couple, and I don't understand how it doesn't do that. I mean, even in my favorite's Beauty and the Beast, for obvious reasons, there's no significant plot points that would say, yeah, this is a moment where things started to turn around. This is a moment where he's done something amazing for her, and she's done something amazing for him, and oh, you can see it's all coming together, you know. It's just really swift and doesn't flow that much. And it seems weird. Even in stories like The Little Mermaid, which is solely around the focus of Ariel finding Prince Eric and then being like, "Oh, I want to date you and marry you." Is there's no build up. There's no time for them to develop feelings towards each other, which is very confusing. But I suppose if anything, they're short. They're like an hour and a half at most, so you can kind of breeze through them quite quickly and not worry about it. Also, we watched The Nightmare Before Christmas recently. Very odd film. I had different thoughts about it before we watched it again. Maybe I just wasn't remembering it correctly. But I still think it's cool. It looks really nice. But again, the romance between Jack and Sally is like, where did this come from? Okay. Also, I pray you all watch the new Ducktales. Oh, it is so good! I'm currently in season 3, because obviously they've only just released season 3 recently on Disney Plus, so that's what I'm working through currently, and it's so good. They are just these short snippets of really interesting slice of life things that happen. But then there's this underlying story arc in all 3 seasons, I assume. Season 3 is setting up quite nicely so far, that builds the depth of the show and makes it something so much more interesting to watch than just a cartoon, you know? So, highly recommend that. What else has happened this week? Oh, I put new guitar strings on my guitar again. So I ordered some strings off of Amazon, because where else do you order things these days? And went through that whole process. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I changed my guitar strings for the first time last summer, which was terrifying because I had no idea what I was doing. But it was actually really easy and I shouldn't have been worried at all. But in my haste, I slit my finger and was bleeding and was like, oh, don't get blood on my guitar. But this time was much smoother, much easier because I have had that experience. I just love it. I love the way new strings sound. Regardless of what strings you buy, going from old strings to new strings is great. But the problem is I bought the wrong strings. So I go with Didario. That's the brand, assuming I'm saying that correctly. And they have in their sort of, I say, normie people set range, they have multiple different variants that have slightly different technologies to them, slightly different feel to how they play, slightly different sound profiles. And the ones I really like are called the Phosphor Bronze. Now, the packaging for the Phosphor Bronze looks extremely similar to their other range that's called the 8020s. I ended up buying the 8020s. So they do sound great. They sound really nice because obviously they're brand new strings, but they don't quite have as much punch to them, oddly enough. The Phosphor Bronze and the 8020s, according to their specifications, are quite similar, but I think the Phosphor Bronze is slightly warmer. But the Phosphor Bronze always sounded a bit more, I don't know, alive. Like they've got more punch to them. So it's a bit odd that that they look so similar in photos and their packaging, but in reality they're quite different. So we'll see how they go. I mean, strings are fairly cheap, and I have all the pieces to do it now, and the experience now. And it's really not hard. So if you're considering doing it, do it. Simple as. I mean, guitar shops aren't open currently, so you can't go and pay someone to do it. But you know, maybe if I have people and friends in the future that want me to do it for them, I wouldn't mind doing it. It's quite easy. And I'd just say like, yo, just you buy the strings, bring your strings and the guitar, I'll do it. Easy peasy. I'd kind of like to learn how to do the whole setup thing, so where you make the guitar play really nice, but that requires a lot more involvement with modifying aspects of the guitar, so like the truss rod, the bridge, if the bridge is completely wrong, you might need to redo the nut, things like that. So I don't really want to go that deep in and possibly ruin my guitar. I'd rather pay someone who has had a lot of experience and the ability to try and figure things out with multiple instruments as opposed to the one and only instrument they have. But anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed listening to me ramble on and on about inconsequential things. But I'll see you all next week. Bye!